Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to a new edition of the Data Features Lab speaker series. My name is Miguel Morachimo, and I am a program officer at the Data Features Lab here at the Mozilla Foundation, and I will be your host for today's session. Before we begin, I want to remind you that the presentation section of this session will be recorded and made available on our website, on the Mozilla Foundation website. If you choose to speak or participate during this part, it will be captured by the recording. Uh, However, after the presentation is done, we will move over to the Q&A section, and this part will not be recorded or live streamed. Um, so we're doing this in the spirit of fostering a more candid and open conversation. So whatever you say in that part will only be available to those of you who are joining us via Zoom. Also, before we begin, I want to share a few housekeeping notes. The first one is that there is a public agenda document where you can introduce yourself, leave your contact information if you wish to, and later submit your questions to the presenters. A link to that will circulate over the Zoom chat. I also want to draw your attention to our Mozilla community participation guidelines. You should find a link for that in our agenda document. And I want to emphasize on the obligation to be respectful in all interactions and communications among each others and with the presenter. Any kind of disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. People are welcome to ask questions in the chat throughout the conversation and also come off mute during the Q&A section and ask the question directly. I want to remind you that, once again, only the first part of the session will be recorded. With that off the table, I want to tell you more about today's session. This is a new installment of our Data Features Lab speaker series, our monthly or semi-monthly webinar series. As you might know, the Data Features Lab is an experimental space at the Mozilla Foundation for instigating new approaches to data stewardship challenges. We provide funding, scaffolding for collaboration, convening around emerging ideas, and a place to workshop approaches to data stewardship, which give greater control and agency to people. Through this DFL speaker series, we're looking to explore what it could actually look like to have a more equitable data ecosystem in the context of generative AI. An important aspect of that is looking at the dataset layer and investigating how the datasets are assembled and governed, and whether the people and communities whose data is being used or who proactively donate their data, whether they are given agency and even compensation. Talking about that, today we'll hear from James Smith. He's the co-founder of Human Native AI, an organization creating an AI data marketplace where people can add their creative works to have them use for AI training and be compensated for it. We believe that the work of that Human Native AI is really interesting to look at because they are coming forward with a market-based solution that is attempting to answer some of the questions that we've been exploring throughout the series and throughout this year at the Data Features Lab. So to tell us more about it, I'll leave you with James.
Great. Thank you very much, Miguel. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I'm in sunny San Francisco today. So for me, this is a big time zone change. So apologies if I look a little tired, and I've got a huge coffee with me as well. But yeah, just wanted to say thank you to Mozilla Foundation for the invitation to speak today. And yeah, happy to talk to you about my startup, Human Native AI, and what we're trying to do in this space. So let me just present the screen, and I'm sure somebody from Mozilla will tell me if I've managed to mess this up, but fingers crossed, hopefully everyone can see what I'm looking at. So first of all, it might be helpful to give you a bit of background on who I am. As Miguel said, I'm the co-founder of this startup, but my background is I spent the last 10 years at Google and at DeepMind building what could be considered to be AI products, various different things from Google Search to Google Ads, and also spending time at DeepMind bringing their technology into and shipping it into Google products. So really come from that world and have a good understanding of what AI developers are looking for and what they need to create better AI products. And so with Human Native, we started the company about 6 months ago because we believed that we could build a fair information ecosystem, something that enables people who have great content and great data to participate in this new AI economy in a way that also makes it easy for AI companies to have the data they need to build better products in a way that also helps them satisfy things like their compliance and their costs. So maybe it's useful just to kind of go back and start where this all began for us, which is thinking about this problem around the fact that to create generative models of the capabilities that are cutting edge today, you need an awful lot of data. And effectively, that's where we are. Actually, in OpenAI's own words, copyrighted works are essential to train AI models. They actually said this in a House of Lords inquiry in the UK, which was quite an interesting omission. The thing that's difficult here is that for AI models to be able to get access to the data they need at scale, there are challenges around how they go about doing that. There's been some behavior around scraping internet content, things like that, which makes me feel like we're in the Napster era or the Pirate Bay era of generative AI. And I feel like we can do better than that. And so that's what Human Native is set out to do, is to create a fairer way for people to be compensated and have control over how their work is used when it's used for generative AI. So let's take a look at each of the sides of this equation in turn. We've spoken to an awful lot of organizations over the last 6 months, including a lot of creators. And generally, one of the feeling is, I would probably describe as one of anger, because they feel like maybe their work is being ripped off and they have no agency or control over how their work is used for generative AI. Is it an opt-in model? Is it an opt-out model? How do they express that opt-out? How do they express what parts of their content they're willing to license versus which parts they're not? This is all very difficult challenges, and something that isn't going to be solved anytime soon. And then let's say that their work is being used for AI licensing. They might not be receiving any compensation at all, unless there may be a big media company that can do a bespoke deal with one of the leading foundational model labs. And even then, how do they know if they're getting a good deal? And I think this is all underpinned by a general move towards more walled garden AI platforms, which really threatens the existing business models of a lot of creators on the internet. Models such as advertising or even direct subscriptions with consumers are under threat if more and more people consume content through an AI platform. But equally, we've spoken to a lot of AI developers as well, from the machine learning researchers who are actually doing training up to CEOs of large organizations. And they have what I would describe as effectively a data acquisition problem. They need high quality information to power their models. The demand for data I would describe as close to insatiable. And this data also is very often focused on being human data, that is, human created information. Synthetic data definitely plays a part and will continue to play a part in the future training of generative models. But there always seems to be a core component of that, which is human created, and that's what gives the data its diversity and its human expression. There is also a lot of challenges that are arising both legally and regulatory, which are putting incredible pressure on AI companies to demonstrate that they are building businesses which are not causing harm to other organizations and other industries that we hold dear as a society, like creators. You can imagine what the uproar would be like, for example, if AI generated content completely destroyed organizations like journalism, which are so important to us in a time of uncertainty that we exist in today. They also have challenges with scale as well. If you're building a frontier capable large language model, for example, if you wanted to build it with purely licensed content, you might need something like 1,000 different publishers worth of content in order to be able to have a model which had enough data to be able to perform to the current cutting edge standards. And that just doesn't scale. I don't think there are any AI developers who have the bandwidth to be able to do 1,000 different licensing deals. And then finally, there's probably even some concerns from the end users of these AI models about using these great generative functions to assist them with their work if there are potential issues around copyright claims or other issues legal issues down the line. And that's holding back the adoption of B2B tools as what we've understood from speaking to AI developers. So effectively, that's now what we're setting out to build, a platform to control and compensate the information used to power AI. Human native AI is a platform, both a web interface and a data platform, which enables us to collect information from rights holders and then to make it available for licensing and make it a frictionless experience for AI developers. So what does this all mean? What are the different kind of things that we offer and how does that impact this current state? Well, we believe in better data for better AI. What does that mean? That means that rights holders can monetize their content in a new way, which enables them to continue to prosper in the age of AI models and age of AI platforms on the internet. That might be that they make their content available for licensing. It might be that they make their content available for augmentation of existing models. For example, if they have high quality, trusted information, it might be more valuable to make that available as a live service than to bake that into an existing model. But it's extremely important that rights holders have control, that they do not feel like their content is out there being used without their knowledge or their input. We want to make sure that they can view all of the licenses that they have proposed to them, and they get to be able to say which ones they want to participate and which ones they don't, and for what use cases they're happy for their data to be used for. What's also quite interesting in this space is that an awful lot of people who have great content are not necessarily tech companies or even, have APIs or things like that. We've been working with organizations globally where they're looking for help to extract, to clean, and to improve the value of their content to get it ready for machine learning training. That, I think, there's going to be a big business going forward of how do we make sure that the world's content is accessible in a standardized way that makes it easy for machine learning training, while at the same time having the protections and the controls in place. From an AI developer's perspective, if you want to build to license content, you need to be able to do so also quickly and agilely. One of the interesting things as we speak to more and more AI developers is that AI research is moving at such a pace that what content is needed today might not be the content that is needed a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now. And if you are, for example, a partnerships team or a BD team and an AI developer, negotiating a bespoke custom license for data could take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And that is not fast enough to be able to keep up with the changing research needs. And so having the ability to move more quickly in the space, I think, is critical to enabling data licensing as a actually feasible way to license content. There's also, as I said previously, a lot of risk around legalities and regulatory concerns in this space. And one of the interesting things we hear from AI developers when we speak to them is they're looking for assurance that the content that is being licensed to them, that the rights holder has the rights to license that content, and that they can prove that they've gone through the right processes, there's the right paper trail there. And so through Human Native, we want to make sure that the content that we have available on our platform is certified, that you can use it for AI licensing, and that reduces a huge amount of risk for the AI developers. I'll give you an example here. This is just a total aside, something that we found out recently. If you've ever tried to look at rights in the music industry, you will know that the music industry is extremely complex. One thing that we found, which was really interesting, was that some of the licensing deals that are occurring in the music industry are not licensing deals. They're promises not to sue. We've heard from some folks in the legal industry that one recent deal in this space was a music party, a rights holder, effectively saying to an AI developer, we don't license you the content, we simply promise not to sue you. And we don't certify that we have all the rights to this content. So if you're an AI developer, you can just imagine that you've maybe covered off a percentage of the risk, but definitely not that you have 100% right access to that data. That's a really complex situation. And I don't think situations like that are going to make it easy for data licensing to scale to a point where we need it to this to be a viable alternative. And I think that's something that we need to address collectively as industries. And then finally, for human natives perspective, one of the things that we want to do is to make it possible so that an AI developer can access hundreds of sources of content through a single API with one billing system and one standard set of legal documents. We think those are three critical components to this scaling to be a significant, viable business proposition. So If you were a rights holder, and the topic I believe this talk was, can I license my content? This is an example of what it might look like if you were to partner with a system like Human Native AI. You would work with our team to onboard and connect your catalog of information to our platform. You would make that information available in a marketplace where you would have assistance to set the pricing, because of course this is such an emerging market that people don't really as yet understand exactly what the right prices should be. And we imagine that's going to go through a lot of change over the coming period. But it's really important for us that rights holders at all times are in control and that they get to set the pricing and get to approve what deals they want to participate in. Ultimately, this is the rights holder's IP, and they should have that full control over their content. Compensation works through our platform automatically, where compensation is delivered directly to the end user. And we provide an amount of analytics to be able to enable the rights holder to see how their content is being used, who has purchased it, and if it's an inference side, what type of information are they being asked for, and what is most popular. So my colleague Alex can take you through a quick demo of what our system looks like, and we can talk a little bit about an experience here. Hopefully you can hear this.
AI developers always want to improve their products. Consider this example, a chatbot called Athena. We can ask it a question like, who won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 2024? The answer it gives here is out of date because the AI was trained in 2023. An AI system is only as good as its data. So the AI developer goes to Human Native in search of better data to boost their performance. The user browses the available datasets and chooses one to license. Once the developer has requested the license, the content provider receives an email. This takes them through to Human Native, where they retain full control and can manually approve each license request based on price and how their data will be used. The data flows immediately through into the developer's product, and straight away we can see how better data makes a better AI product. That's Human Native AI. Better data for better AI products and a fair.
Cool. So hopefully you can see that example can, sorry, 1 second, can help improve existing products. And that was a real-time example where an AI developer connects their data to a genuine data source and is able to get much more high quality answers with just a few clicks of a license. And so I think the most important thing here would be to highlight the value of human created content for AI systems. Generally, I think the phrase garbage in, garbage out has never been more applicable than when talking about machine learning or artificial intelligence. Human created content can really assist improving the quality of the training, the quality of the data that is used to train these models, and help to produce models that have from the very beginning, higher quality scores. The other thing that they can do is improve grounding. So in the example before, provide current or specific facts that maybe won't be in the existing training set of the model. They also enable it to stay up to date and provide authoritative information about things that are changing in the world today. And finally, help them understand how humans communicate and share ideas. And that's something that's becoming increasingly important. So if you have professional content today, on the internet or elsewhere, there's a lot of different opportunities. You can imagine how, for example, a newspaper that has a deep archive would be the ideal content for training a large language model. Or if you are breaking interesting stories that are about important topics like election coverage or things like that, being authoritative also has great opportunity. But I think also there is this piece about humans communicate and expand on stories in a way that maybe is not necessarily intuitive to a computer system, and having examples about humans and how they talk about different topics is also extremely important. So we're working with a number of different AI companies, including some of the world's biggest foundational models, and we have many more in our pipeline. They're looking for all different types of content at the moment. We're seeing demand for conversational audio. We're seeing demand for music. For video demonstrations, we're looking for people looking for illustrations, and also text in different types of content, and even multilingual content at this point as well. And we're now also working with lots of different rights holders, including hundreds in our pipeline, when they're sourcing all sorts of different content that is now available via our platform. So things like songs, conversational audio clips, TV shows, news, magazines, book titles, journalism, photojournalism, and editorial photographs as well. If you're an AI developer, this is hopefully a fantastic resource for you to be able to find great content to train your models. And you might say, well, what's happening to this market? Well, we believe that this market around data licensing is really heating up. Earlier this year, we had a conversation with a VC who was talking about, saying this is not particularly an interesting topic. We believe that we can get as much content as we need from the internet by scraping open content. And then, the same VC saying later in 2024 that, all AI companies should be considering data licensing. And also the question then is this just for big media or just big technology companies? Well, again, I don't really think so. There are a number of AI companies that are being founded every day. There are lots of different new and interesting companies taking existing models or creating their own and trying to do interesting things. And if we zoom in, we think that there are now over 300 AI companies that we believe are in the market for licensing data, and we expect that number to continue to grow. So we think the opportunity is there, and we're already starting to see deals coming through as well. We're seeing generative video and generative audio content being, developers of generative video and generative audio being particularly active in the market, looking to license different types of professionally created content. And we're seeing some really interesting deal values as well, which hopefully makes this an interesting perspective to rights holders. So what type of revenue could a rights holder potentially receive for their content? Well, I think there's a couple of different ways to think about this. One is the more traditional, perhaps when people think about data licensing, is making data available wholesale. This would be where there is a price to be paid for access to a significant amount of content, usually for an upfront fee or for a recurring subscription over a period of time that gives the AI developers the rights to train their models on that content. That is one model, and it is a particularly interesting one. But we're also more excited about opportunities in things like revenue share, performance bonuses, and other types of subscription efforts, where there's an ongoing relationship between the AI developer and the rights holders. And in particular, we're excited about lowering the barrier to entry. We don't want to create a system where only the very largest and most well-capitalized AI companies are the ones who can access data. Instead, I think rights holders should be thinking about how do they lower that barrier and enable themselves to work with more startups in the space. By doing that, they create a more vibrant ecosystem of buyers for their content in the future. And there's ways to do that through revenue shares or performance bonuses, which allows it to still make financial sense. And then finally, we're also building this API for retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, which enables this high quality content to be used when appropriate by the AI developer. Those types of situations enables rights holders to be paid for their content's influence, how good their content is, and when it's being used by AI developers. So our recommendation for publishers in the space is that right now is the time to invest both in protecting and increasing the value of your content. There are many technical defenses that you can put in place now to make it significantly harder for your internet content to be scraped and to be stolen in that way. But I think the most important thing at this point would also be to think about emphasizing the quality of your content. We're definitely seeing a shift from AI developers looking for purely volumes of content to focusing on what is the highest quality content to answer the problem that I'm trying to solve right now. And differentiating content, I believe, is going to be one of the ways that it is possible for rights holders to maximize their value. Also, we've seen a lot of rights holders getting interested in digging into their existing archives, making them more digital, investing in metadata and tagging to make sure that the content is in the best possible machine-readable formats with rich metadata to enable AI developers to understand what that content is. And finally, as I said before, I think it's okay maybe to think about for the biggest rights holders doing the 1 or 2 custom bespoke deals with the biggest AI players. Those might be, you know, where to focus their attention. But I think if they can also go beyond that and engage a more vibrant ecosystem of buyers, that helps to create a better future for everyone in this situation. So if you're a rights holder today, and the question for the start of this talk was, can you license your content? Absolutely. I think there is lots of opportunities to unlock new revenue and participate in this new age of AI platforms. We'd be happy to help, and you can get in touch with us via our website or email below. I think that's probably a good place to stop. And Miguel, I think you have some questions, so I'd love to jump into those. Thanks very much for your attention, everyone.
Thanks so much, James, for your presentation. And just a reminder that this concludes the part of the presentation that will be live streamed and captured